Hey guys, what's going on? I'm back with another video. In this video here today, I just want to talk about what's going on with the Star Wars Battlefront II game and EA and just everything that's going on with that. So typically, I don't make a lot of videos where I'm just kind of ranting and raving about something because there's already enough of that going on in this day and age. But when I do, because I do it sometimes, it's typically when I think like, I can kind of help inform the conversation. I kind of have some insight on what's going on. That's not just the same, oh, EA sucks, like just the same comment or something like that. In this case, I kind of, just wanted to talk about what's going on here and just kind of where we're at. So if you don't know, first, I'm assuming you've heard of Star Wars. And so Battlefront is the video game series. There's been other games here and there, but the main kind of video game, component to Star Wars is the Battlefront series. And so, just going into it, the reason I'm even making this video is just because a lot of, the people that make, videos like this where they rant about stuff it's like some kid, just making videos. But in my case, just my background, just so you know, went to business school, so corporate finance and accounting, business management and administration, just all that crap I had to do. It was all hard. It was all boring. Had to do all that. Then the law school, then just long story short, I know what I'm talking about with this stuff for the most part. It's not just the same, oh, yay, like that commentary, which I'm sure there's a lot of. And in my spare time, I play games and I do the YouTube stuff. Really, it's more about just making movies. I like doing that. But in this case, because I remember 12 years ago, just a wee lad at the time, I played the original Star Wars Battlefront II on the PlayStation 2, which was one of the most fun, I think it's the most fun game I ever played. Like, I remember the day I figured out how to do the space missions, because I knew you could do it, but I could never figure out how to do it. And then one day I figured out, I just sat there and played those space missions all day. It was like the most fun. And so now, 12 years later, there's another game with the exact same title, Star Wars Battlefront II, just the 2017 edition. And unfortunately, there's all this controversy surrounding something that, because given how far graphics have come, and it could really be amazing. And unfortunately, EA ruined it. Like, they ruin a lot of things. And you ever notice when EA ruins something, it's because it's the same thing that they do? Every time people complain about EA, well, number one, it's because their servers are kind of crappy. But the main complaint historically with EA is the same exact complaint, and it's that they try to make everything in the game cost money. That's really what it comes down to. Packs, loot crates, packs, just any way you want to try to monetize everything in the game, make every little thing cost. It's called microtransactions, basically, an in-game economy of microtransactions, which isn't much different than how Rockstar Games does it. But the difference between EA and Rockstar Games, first of all, Rockstar Games is much more popular. But Rockstar Games, all the DLC is free. They get all the they just every month or whatever it is, they come out with a new DLC. And you don't have to pay to download it. You just get the update, so everybody gets it. And then you go into online, and as you kind of work your way up, you can buy stuff. Or in single player, like offline, you can just use all the stuff for free. And if you really want it really badly, I guess you can buy shark cards with real money that give you this stuff, which I don't like. I think it's terrible. But there's really a lot of other, there's so many things in GTA 5 you can do. It's not just all about you can just go in single player and use this stuff for free. EA, on the other hand, EA, by the way, was rated the most hated company in America many years in a row by this website, which actually just shut down. It's called Consumerist. It was actually one of my favorite websites. They just rank on companies that are up to no good. But yeah, people hate EA for pretty much the same thing as this. So this is what went on. So Battlefront 2, it's coming out this year. It's like the very expensive, and I understand this. Not that I sympathize with EA at all, because they suck. They kind of historically are, not the most consumer-friendly organization, but so Star Wars used to be owned by Lucasfilms or by Fox. No, I think Fox distributed it, but it was really George Lucas owned it. Sells it to Disney a few years ago for just a boatload of money. Now, Disney, if you don't already know, Disney is like the friggin', like copyright, and because I work in law, so I can kind of attest to this. Disney's control over their intellectual property is insane. No other company on the face of the earth owns, manages, sells, and downright just controls the hell out of intellectual property and copyright like Disney. Holy, you don't want to... Disney will sue people just to sue them. Like, Disney will spend millions of dollars that they lose and lose the case just to piss people off, just because that's what they do, just because they don't want people messing with them. So, obviously, if you want to make a game about Star Wars that Disney owns, the licensing fees for the characters are insane. They are very high, all right? And then obviously to make a game where the graphics are as good and just as complex and that, I mean, Star Wars Battlefront II was going to have every era and every character and every, the graphics were unbelievable and it was going to, just such a promising looking game. Well, number one, the licensing to pay Disney to use their characters is crazy. And then number two, to make a game that looks that nice and incorporates all those things, it's not cheap, which I'm sure you know. Which is fine, because the game costs $60, and they want to scam everybody for the maps. Like a map that cost them 10 minutes to make. They just shuffled some things around, made a map there, $20, $20, $20. That whole thing. So they were going to do that. But then, what they want to do, which is the thing where I will not play Battlefront 2 just because of this. I hate companies doing this, and I don't want to go off, because I could tell you for like an hour about the economics behind this. But essentially, what EA figured out, not EA, Rockstar Games, pretty much the entire gaming industry figured out, and not just screw the gaming industry, every industry that sells you digital content figured this out in the last few years. And what they figured out is we'd rather make less money having people come back, right? Having people have to make multiple repeat purchases like every month. We'd rather make like $1 every month than just charge people $60 for the game and then never make any more money off the game, right? So if you look at Apple Music, Netflix, Hulu, Uber, any service where you pay money repeatedly for something that is something that is not a tangible good, an intangible good or service, like a digital song or an Uber ride, something that you don't own. It's not a capital asset. They basically, companies figured out this is how we want to do it. We just want to have people keep paying to use our service. We'll make less money, but it'll last longer. Like for instance, GTA, the reason GTA is still going is because Rockstar keeps selling those shark cards. So as long as you have to keep spending money to buy something, even though it's not a lot of money, but as long as it's repetitive, it makes whatever it is last over a longer period of time. And even when it doesn't, like for instance, like Apple Music, Apple for the longest time would just, and they still do, but I heard they're going to get rid of it, would just sell you a song, like 99 cents, you get a song. Now, they'd rather have you pay a few dollars every month and you can listen to however many songs you want, but you don't own the songs when you're done. So you pay every month to listen to them, but when it's all said and done, if you stop paying, you can't listen to any more songs and you can't keep the songs from before. So EA, like pretty much every other company now, looks at this and says, hey, yeah, that's what we're going to do. So the way they apply it to Battlefront 2 is like, say you want to play as Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker or whatever. In order to do that, you have to really rank up and you got to really work up a lot of points and play the game, which is the way it's always been in every game ever for the most part. But then they said, well, here's what we'll do. We'll just charge people money if they want to unlock the character or whatever it is sooner. So if they want to play sooner, if they want to have it sooner, you can pay. But what they did was, they said it took like 40 hours. So like if you, say like a 40-hour work week, you work 9 to 5, 8 hours a day. Hold on, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, hold on. 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 8 hours. Sorry, I'm terrible at mental math. My bad. But 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So you have to play Battlefront 2 8 hours a day for 5 straight days to unlock a character, which is insane. That's ridiculous, right? No one's doing that. So they're going to charge you if you want to do it sooner, but then they make how long it takes to accomplish the same thing, to unlock the same progress for free, take a ridiculous, unethically long amount of time to make you have to pay. That's what they did. So if I Google Star Wars Battlefront 2 right now, this is what comes up. EA cuts Star Wars Battlefront 2 hero costs after widespread anger. That's on Kotaku. I guess that's like a game website. Second article. EA defense of Star Wars Battlefront 2 becomes most downvoted Reddit comment in history. Number 3. That was from Kotaku. This is from Polygon, which I guess is the same kind of site. EA is destroying fans' trust in Battlefront 2. Then this one here, to all game critics trying to rush out their Star Wars Battlefront 2 reviews by the embargo, stop, play the game again, see what changed. So there's people, so I guess there's, so people who get the game for free. I do not get Battlefront 2 for free. I get Call of Duty for free from Activision. I don't have any deal with EA, at least as it stands today on November 13, 2017, because I'm required to disclose that to you. I have no deal with EA. I haven't played the game, anything like that. So there's an embargo in the sense that if they give people the game early, they can't review it until a certain period of time. I don't have that because I haven't played it. I have no contractual deal with EA, so I can bitch and moan as much as I want. So you can see here the first 3 things that come up, which is everybody hates EA. Now, it doesn't have anything to do with, you know, hold on a second. There's a Forbes article right here, and it's called The Ugly Truth About Game Reviewers, and I want to see it. Hold on a second. Forbes. That's another thing I do. I spend a lot of time just reading stuff. Like, not games, but just news in general, so I love reading this. So let's see what this is about. Hold on. I'm going to pause the... Hold on a second. Okay. So, reviews. One ugly truth about game reviews. Excellent piece on how long it takes to run heroes. There's updates. Most of the shows Luke's hero costing only 10,000 gross. Was this how much Luke used to cost before EA raised the prices, or have they dramatically lowered prices this drastically? So, some outlets and individuals even accept travel lodging from game publishers on top of the free food and hotel conversations. They review the games themselves. So people are paid a lot of money to say nice things about the games. That's really the highlight here. And the reason why EA will spend this much money is because it's peanuts compared to how much they're going to make selling this stuff in the game, right? They'll spend, yeah, let's bring everybody in, good reviews, same thing I'm sure Activision does. I mean, I don't know that, I'm speculating, but I mean, they get some, you know, inordinately positive reviews from time to time, or kind of all the time. Well, not all the time. They get some, you know, they get some flack too. But anyways, you get the idea. So EA makes this thing where they want, it's all about microtransactions, in-game economy, or really the buzzwords. It's an in-game economy where you have to repeatedly, you know, transact on a microeconomic basis. I guess that's a very complicated way of saying that. Because it doesn't make, it makes EA money, but it makes EA money in the long term. That's really what they care about. They don't really care about how much, you know, launch day, you know, like games, like I remember Call of Duty, it's like, oh, it made, you know, I think like GTA made $1 billion in the first 3 days. Well, that's great, but they don't really, they'd rather make half of that in the first 3 days, but then make the rest of it over the next many years. That's really what they want you to have to come back. Like Call of Duty. Call of Duty used to go in the multiplayer and it's really fine match, you know, team deathmatch, play. And that was it. Now, in this year's Call of Duty, you go into it and then there's this whole thing where there's crates and there's packs and there's a general and you get orders and there's goals and prestige. It's all about getting you to come back to the game and play it more. You know why? Because in a few months, they'll come out with some DLC. And to play the DLC, you have to pay for the DLC. It's all about getting you to come back. Like in the last few years, these companies realized, you know, we want everybody to have to keep coming back and spend more money. Which isn't new. That's not new. But the idea that we'll just charge you a little amount of money, but we want you to have to keep coming back and spend a little amount of money repeatedly. That's what's new. The microtransactions. That's what's new. So just go ahead and, you know, Google microtransactions. What comes up? Star Wars Battlefront 2's microtransactions are a real problem. Here's what $100 does to ... EA response to fan outcry over Star Wars Battlefront 2's microtransactions. That's number 2. Article number 3, Star Wars Battlefront 2, players outraged over progression system and microtransactions. I'll just give you the Wikipedia definition. Microtransaction is a business model where users can purchase virtual goods versus via micropayments. Microtransactions are often used in free-to-play games to provide a revenue source for the developers. It's not a revenue source. It's a freaking killing that they're making. So as you can see, everybody's out of their mind about this. So that's what's going on. That's the economics of it is we would rather have... It's about sustainability. They just want to have more money. They need to pad the budget. So like, for instance, companies have it's called a 10K report. So every company that makes games, or most of them, or pretty much every company for all intents and purposes, has to file, or any company that's, actually private companies have to file it too, with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. Every year have to file what's called a 10K report. A 10K report is a report that's filed by a corporation, and it's basically... their financial statements. So you get an income statement, which is basically your profit and loss. Which, if you're an accountant, which for an accountant you're probably not watching this, it's called articulation. So then you get your basically your top line, how much revenue you made minus your expenses. You get your gross, and then that goes to your basically then there's a balance sheet, and then there's a cash flow statement. There's just it all adds up. So if they make $1 billion in 3 days selling this game for $60 a piece or whatever, however it works out exactly, in their fiscal year 2017, which isn't going to be reported until like next, I don't know when EA reports when their fiscal year ends, but a lot of companies it's like March or whatever. So fiscal year 2017, you made like $1 billion in 3 days, right? Great. So 2017 looks great, but what are you going to come out with in 2018, right? That's what it becomes. So they'd rather delay, and also taxes, if you haven't heard of taxes. So $1 billion in revenue, corporate tax rate, call it, I think the top, I'm not sure if it's the top corporate tax rate or the top individual tax rate in the U.S. I believe it's like 40%, which in Europe it's even more ridiculous than that, but at least in the U.S., it's like 40%. So 40% of $1 billion is $400 million in taxes, right? So it's all that income is realized in the fiscal year 2017. So it makes more sense for the company to say, well, let's have everybody just pay a little bit of money, but repeatedly, and just stretch this sucker out for a few years, right? So then this way we can always count on that income. We don't have to keep making something if we can keep counting on those microtransactions, because even though it's a few dollars, those few dollars times however many players adds up. So that's what's going on. That's kind of the background of it. What do I think about it? I hate it. So for instance, I do not use Uber, right? Bought a car. Don't use Uber. Won't use Netflix. I don't use Hulu. I don't use Apple Music. I don't stream things. I buy stuff. Like I buy a car. I buy a movie. I'll go buy a Blu-ray. I'll buy a song in iTunes. I mean, I guess you don't really buy the CDs, but I'll download the song, right? Because believe it or not, this is a little economics lesson for you. Those are all assets, right? If you spend all your money on, Netflix every month, Hulu every month, Apple Music every month, streaming all this media, you've spent all your money, but you don't own any of the stuff. Like if you stop spending the money, you don't get to access it anymore, and you can't download the movies from Netflix. You can't download the songs from Apple Music. You can't, you go for a ride in an Uber, you spend the money, but once you get to where you're going, then money's gone. You don't keep the car, so you're spending all your money on things you don't get to keep. You don't have it's called a capital asset. The corporation is retaining ownership over the capital asset that they're using. They're basically, I guess you could say leasing, renting, basically on a contingency basis to people for a monthly fee or a service fee. They're letting you use Netflix, use Uber, I guess in this case, use a character in the game. Like, say you got to play as Luke Skywalker in the game and you spent $20. How much did that cost EA? Think about that. It cost them nothing. They paid a licensing fee to use the character, but now, like, it's not like you play as Luke Skywalker and then you get gunned down or whatever by stormtroopers, and then that's it. Like, then there's no more Luke Skywalker. Nobody ever can play as Luke Skywalker ever again. No, that's not true. It's a digital file. They just, basically make your character load up this digital file, and now you're Luke Skywalker. There's no cost. There's no unit cost, no variable cost. There's no cost associated with that revenue generating activity from Electronic Arts. I'm going into like full lawyer mode now because I'm not, it's afternoon. I'm not working now. But like I start using like full corporation names, going to like full blown lawyer mode. But you get the idea. So it's not cost them anything. It's just, it's 20 minutes. I've been yapping my mouth, flapping my gums long enough about this. You guys get the idea. Now, from my perspective, my opinion of it, I hate it. So I told you, like, I wouldn't use any of those things because I see what's going on. You are being taken advantage of by corporations that are retaining, ownership of a capital asset that's being used to generate revenue on an ongoing basis. And I'm not reading this. I'm just telling you what I think. On an ongoing basis for a service fee that you will pay in perpetuity and never end up owning anything. That's why there's such stratification of wealth, because people spend all their money on stupid things. They don't invest in themselves, in just people that buy in it. And this is way over the top for friggin' Star Wars game, but the whole concept of microtransactions is excellent for the corporation. It's terrible for you. So I will not play Battlefront 2. I don't use anything, Apple Music, any of that crap. Nope, not doing it. Will not do it. Because you are really cheating yourself out of a lot of money. Well, I guess in this case, it's not that much money. But the concept as a whole is from the consumer's point of view, financially, morally, ethically bankrupt on a number of levels. So I will not buy into it. But anyways, that's what's going on. That's my thoughts on it. I just hate stuff like this. So other than that, until next time, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching.